Good morning and welcome back to your weekend unboxing here on Gaming with ADHD, where today we're going to be taking a look at Disney Villainous Introduction to Evil. Now, this is the 2023 version of the original Disney Villainous set, which originally came out in 2018. For this set, however, because it's a sort of a new starting point, Ravensburger has gone back and revised 4 of the original heroes and made it more of an introductory set that's a little bit easier for players to jump into. So today what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at what you get in the box. This is just going to be sort of a first impressions. While I have played Villainous quite a bit in the past, this is not going to be a review of how different the sets play on themselves. Basically, we're just going to look at what do you get, and I'll let you know whether or not I think it's a good deal. But before we do that, do make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I try to put out a few videos each week talking about all sorts of things, whether it's board games, miniatures, role-playing, or honestly anything in between, and I'd love for you to come along and see what we have to share. So, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at our game. All right, so first off, this is the box that you're going to get. Now, there are supposedly a couple of different versions. This one was released in 2023 with the for the Disney 100th anniversary. And so the box has sort of like a holofoil treatment to it. It has the Disney 100 sticker on it. And from my understanding, the villain movers have a different look to them, which you'll see here in a minute. But for other than that, essentially it's the same gameplay. So basically, just kind of depends on which version you're going to see. Now, like I said, you do only get 4 of the original 6 villains in it. You're going to get Ursula, Captain Hook, Maleficent, and Prince John. From everything that I have read, the gameplay is mostly the same for these characters, but in many cases it has just been made a little bit easier, a little bit clearer, because some people thought the characters played a little too difficult and weren't as competitive. So that's my understanding of why they made the changes. But let's take a look. So the instructions are the same. I don't see any changes as far as how the game itself plays. But the rulebook, nice and simple, 8 pages. And let's be honest, I've learned it off the rulebooks before, so I can tell you it's written pretty well and pretty easy to understand. All right, now this is the cauldron. This is where you'll put the power tokens as you play. And looking at these movers, these are actually these are very nice. So it's got a sort of, it's kind of pearl metallic look to them. I have a feeling that extensive play, like there's already a little bit of wear right here on the feathers on Captain Hook. So I have a feeling that depending on how you play with these, this coating is going to wear off, which is kind of sad because I really like how it looks. I realize it's just a mover piece, but I mean, when they make these kinds of special editions, which is fine. Usually in the past, like they're just like a different color or they have a different wash to them. But if if the paint on these is going to wear off, that's going to be really disappointing. Let's see. Let's get Ursula out here. I do also like how the movers are just sort of representations of the character. It's not the character themselves. Um, it's like what you would see as like an emblem or something like that. It's fun. I like the designs to them. Um, Only complaint I honestly have is it going to is this paint treatment going to get damaged? All right. We then have the realm boards. So each character obviously has a different realm in which they work. Keep in mind, the premise of the game is that you are the villain and you are trying to actually win at the end instead of the hero. Um, so basically, you have this board that represents the realm that you're working in, and then the character mover is used to go to the different zones and take the actions that are available to you there. So um, it does not. I don't believe that the art has really changed. I would have to get out the other box and look, but again, this is just kind of this is just an unboxing, just to kind of get my first impression. But I've always been very happy with the art and the way that these characters are treated. Um, Ravensburger has done a fantastic job with all of these, so I'm not seeing anything that I would be disappointed in here. As far as the cost is concerned, uh, I picked this up on sale at Target, but the regular price is only $30. So for a 4-player game with everything that you see here, $30 is well in that price range of just reliability. These are the power tokens. They're used for currency, tracking things, all sorts of things. There's a whole handful of them. What is interesting is I do not see a fate token, which is usually used in higher player count games. Before we get out the cards, let's look at these real quick. So each villain also has a guidebook, and then there's a cheat sheet about the different action symbols, what they all mean, how they all work, and then just a listing of the different villain objectives, so you know what your opponents are doing. These guidebooks are actually kind of neat. The rules essentially are all the same, but these little guidebooks, it's just okay. So in this case, it's essentially 4 pages because there's nothing here and the cover doesn't count. But essentially, it's tips and tricks on how to play that particular villain. They work really easily, but it's just a nice little guidebook because each villain plays differently. And so you have a little guidebook to tell you how to play your character. So, they're always really well done. So, there's that. All right. So, we'll just look at one of these so that you get an idea. But all of the characters work essentially the same. So you have essentially 2 decks. You can tell it very easily because you'll have white on the bottom and then your color on white on the bottom for the fate deck, color on the bottom for the villain deck, but then also white on the back and color on the back. So you do need to keep these separate, but then to play the game, you'll shuffle them up. The fate deck is what other players use to, get in your way. So King Hubert, the Guards, Once Upon a Dream, Prince Philip, the Sword of Truth, Flora, Merryweather, Aurora, King Stefan, Fauna. So again, all of the heroic characters, all the protagonists trying to do the good things in the movie. And then in the villain deck, so we've got the Cackling Goon, the Spinning Wheel, Dreamless Sleep, Dragon Form, Sinister Goon, Tyranny, Green Fire, Vanish, Forest of Thorns, Staff, Raven, Malice. Then we get some repeats. But essentially, this is the villain. These are the bad things and the bad people that are helping them. And, to make sure that their plans come to fruition. So in that particular case, for Maleficent, she needs to have a curse at each location. So a curse. So right here, dreamless sleep is a curse. So if I can get a curse played to each of these locations, then I win the game. There's a lot of asymmetry to the game. It makes it really interesting. Overall, I think the production value is actually fantastic. It looks great. It's obviously picked out 4 of just the very popular big Disney movies. You've got Little Mermaid, Peter Pan, Sleeping Beauty, and Robin Hood. So again, from just the classic Disney era of movies that have literally just stood the test of time. So overall, I'm kind of excited about this. One thing that I'm very interested in is that I'm taking it with me on a trip that we're taking. In fact, by the time that you see this video, we'll actually be on our way home. But we're spending a week with my parents on a Disney cruise, and they're a bit older, but I wanted to bring games along that I could play with them, that wouldn't be too hard to teach. I'm trying not to pick on my parents, but they're in their 80s. They, are not as spry as they once were. And so sometimes throwing out really complicated games to them is not the best. So I am hoping that this game will have been a little bit easier to have people understand. And so since we're spending 7 days on a boat, we're going to play a few games, and I will come back afterwards and do some reviews and let you guys know how it went. But with that said, I hope you're interested. Have you tried this version? How do you think it compares to the original Disney Villainous? I'd love to hear from you. Please put it in the comments and let us know. So with that said, thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.